right. Craig, who you got up next?
I'm going with the Chargers.
I knew you were, man.
I'm a big Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
Brandon Staley, second year as a coach.
man.
He did okay last year for his first year there. He just was like hype, like he was extra aggressive on fourth downs, but he has to make better decisions. Like they could have went to the playoffs last year if they just had better decision making in the last game of the season against the Raiders and just settle for a tie. But it was just bad play calling. So I didn't understand it last year. But I mean, I think the Raiders were even willing to settle for a tie, so that way both teams could have made the playoffs. But I don't know. He has to just do.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right.
So he just has to do better coming into this season. Just in on fourth downs, and then just better decision making as a whole, which I think he will, because I think his second season with Justin Herbert behind center, it's only going to make things easier for him. So things should, even though it's like we're saying it's the tougher division and a tougher conference, it should be easier for him in his second season. Obviously Justin Herbert, one of the top quarterbacks already in the NFL. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a playoff appearance to show for it. But I think this year, I would assume they should make the playoffs. They were a field goal away from last year from making the playoffs. So this year they should change things and improve on a record of 9-8 last year. So I'm hoping he takes the next, because Justin Herbert, he's putting in work regardless. So it's just, can everything around him work? With the running backs, you have Austin Eckler, Isaiah Spiller. So those two guys. I know Austin Eckler, he's a slight running back. So he's definitely injury prone. But I think Spiller being there
last year.
I know that. I'm just saying, like, overall, for the most part, like he's just a slight running back. So any type of hit, a tough hit, a hard hit could be catastrophic, or he could be out for a couple games. You never know. Yeah. But I mean, like you said, he did play for the most part. I think he played every single game last year, or damn near every single game last year. So but having Spiller there in the backfield or as the spell back doesn't hurt as well. You'd like to have another spell back, especially after losing Jackson. So Keenan Allen I think Keenan Allen's underrated sometimes. I think he's a really good wide receiver that doesn't get talked about enough. I think he even gets obviously he gets overshadowed by Cooper Kupp, but even before then, like, I just didn't think he get enough credit for being on that team and being one of the top wide receivers in the league. Mike Williams is a really good wide receiver as well, who also doesn't get enough praise. But I mean, he's kind of in the shadows of Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen's in the shadow of pretty much everybody else for the most part. So I think they have a decent, they have a really good wide receiver 1-2 punch right there with those two guys. Then you add in Gerald Everett from the Rams, who doesn't even have to really change addresses at all. So he's there. He's a serviceable.
I like that.
Yeah. So he's a serviceable tight end. He should fit in with this team. Obviously, the offensive line led by Sean Slater. I'm over it now. Whatever. They've already had him in there as like one of the top tackles in football, so it doesn't really surprise me. Their defense, Joey Bosa he's a beast. They go out and they get Khalil Mack, another. I don't know. I mean, this defense should be. Last year they were like 23rd, I think, in total yards, but they were really good against the pass. So this year they should be even better. You got Asante Samuel Jr. in the cornerback spot right there with J.C. Jackson. I mean, come on. Like, there's no reason why this team should not make the playoffs, and there's no reason why their defense should not be at least a top 10 defense, or at least borderline top 10 defense overall. Derwin James is back healthy. So I think that other than Khalil Mack, I mean, their linebackers are not really that decent. I think Kenneth Murray Jr. he's solid, but Khalil Mack is going to have to be that anchor for that linebacker group, and Joey Bosa the same for that defensive line. But the secondary, I mean, the secondary should be really, really good. So I got the Chargers winning the division next year. I know people saying the Chiefs are, and rightfully so. I mean, they've been the top team in that division, but I think that this year is the year that the Chargers, with the Chiefs players, some of the players that they've lost, and some of the players that the Chargers have acquired, I think this elevates the Chargers to that top spot. So I got the Chargers finishing 12-5. Their first 4 games, actually their first 7 games, they should have easily 8 games. God, gee, the first 8 games they should win at least 6 or 7 of them. Other than the Chiefs game at the Chiefs with the second game of the season, the toughest game is going to be a home game against the Raiders or the Broncos. So I mean, they should start out the season pretty good. I got them finishing 12-5.
Okay, so Chargers are good. Brandon Staley, I think that your assessment is perfect on him. I think that Brandon Staley, right, listen, he had 1 year. His first year as a head coach, he did good. Overwhelmed a little bit, made some calls that not everybody agreed with. And it was interesting. You think you're right, Craig. I think he went for the most fourth downs, which analytically, he's big on analytics, which I get. And it's going to help you win some games. So I think that I think he should continue his aggressive approach, but do it his way. Don't dial it back just a little bit. I think they could have won not only even the last playoff game. I think they could have won maybe a game or two, not even to be in that position if he wasn't overly aggressive, right? Justin Herbert, man, great quarterback, phenomenal, cream of the crop. I think he's gonna take even and he's the type of quarterback that he's gonna be better, and it's great to see him make that step. Austin Eckler, great running back. And then they still got Joshua Kelly, they still got Roundtree, but they got Isaiah Spiller, who is doing really good in camp, man. He's turning some heads, and he's doing pretty good. And they I think they got a good running back core. Receiver group is good, right? You got Joshua Palmer, who's a third receiver. Mike Williams is back as the big body receiver who could just throw it up, he can catch it. And you have Keenan Allen, who is a technician route runner. He's the kind of receiver that quarterbacks love to have because he bails you out. He bails you out on bad throws. He bails you out on deep routes. He bails you out on third down. He's a good receiver. I think he doesn't get enough credit for being one of the best receivers. Gerald Everett, the tight end, I think he's going to be good. I think he fits. Veteran leadership. I think last year they had. It'll come back to me.
Jared Cook.
Jared Cook, who was solid, but I think Gerald Everett's better. Tight end. The offensive line, Slater, second team All Pro. He's great. There's nothing else I can say about him. Shout out to the Zion Johnson, who's making some flashes at camp. They say his speed is good, and their offensive line is coming together to protect the quarterback. That happens if you have a good quarterback and if the GM starts, seeing how good a quarterback you have and putting pieces around him to succeed, right? The defense, D tackle, Jerry Tillery is a professional, hold down the middle. And then you have the edge rushers, Joey Bosa, they signed Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack is just, they say he went to the fountain of youth. Then they have Calvin Noy. Like, this is just, it's loaded. This team is loaded. And then you have the linebackers from last year And then you got the cornerbacks, man. And the cornerbacks so far they've been doing good. I mean they I was reading one excerpt and they were like they're in full hawk mode. And you have Asante Samuel Jr., right? You have Derwin James, who is in a contract dispute, but he'll be on the field. Then you have Nasir Adderley. He's good. Then they signed JT Jackson, who will get to New England. That's going to be a quick one. Anyway, that's neither here or there for me. But I'm just saying that the Chargers are going to be good. I think this team, this division is going to be like the NFC West last year. I think 3 teams go to the playoffs. And I think the Chargers are one of them. I think they're going to go 12-5. I just think this division is going to be good. You're going to have a 4th seed that is going to be like, they should have been a division winner. I just think I see that. All right, Corey.
Yeah, with Brandon Staley, only 1 year under his belt, but was surprisingly solid last year. I think was definitely a surprise for me. I did not expect the Chargers to be as competitive as they were, as quickly as they were. Tip of the hat to them. But this year's going to come with some massive expectations. So we will see how Staley and the team responds when arguably a deep playoff run is expected of you, not just being competitive. Offensively, I just kind of sum it up as they're running him back from last year. They got Mike Williams back. I don't know if that deal was the best of moves for him, but it makes sense to want to keep the consistency for your young quarterback. Not much more I can add on Herbert than what you guys have already said. I'm with Greg. Keenan Allen is one of the most underrated players in the NFL on the whole. I don't think just wide receiver. The dude's he's consistent, and I feel like just never quite gotten the attention he deserves for it. I will say Everett is a good signing. He's a more athletic upgrade over Cook, although he did spend last year in Seattle, so he's just got to relocate back to LA now.
That's why you were
Yeah.
I thought he was
easy to forget Seattle season last year.
It's hard. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I think Isaiah Spiller and Josh Palmer could both be pretty interesting additions to that offense too, out of their draft class. Defense, again, not much more to add other than on paper that defense is absolutely loaded. Linebackers don't have to be great when you've got the secondary and pass rush that they do. Overall, the Chargers are going all in on their young quarterback and his rookie contract, and they should. It makes a lot of sense. He excelled last year, ahead of what any of us for certain expected him to be. And I applaud the Chargers for just going all in to try to get a ring while they can. They'll be competitive for a long time, but when you could spend the money on premium players elsewhere, kudos to them for doing it. It's on paper, I think they've got one of the most talented rosters in the NFL this season. I think there's heavy expectations, and are they able to close? Because they fell on their face that last game of the season. Really no excuse not for that team not to make the playoffs. But I definitely think they're in the playoffs this year. I got them at 11-6. I think they have a really good season.